Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In this video, we are going to talk more deeply about التوكل على Allah. And we're going to go into more details and more depth about التوكل with so many examples to make it clear for you. First of all, let's start with the meaning of التوكل. What is التوكل? Of course, التوكل is an Arabic word, which linguistically is driven from word in Arabic يتوكل, the verb يتوكل. And يتوكل means when you delegate your work to someone to take over, and when you assign someone to finish your affairs, like a disposer of affairs, like when you ask a lawyer or an attorney to represent you in court and to defend you. You know this feeling when you ask somebody to finish your works or your affairs outside, like you're not being delayed with these works or with these papers. How do you feel? You're feeling comfortable, right? Like you don't have this kind of tension and anxiety because someone is taking over the whole thing. And imagine that when you have a problem and there is an attorney who's representing you in the court, like he's finishing it to you, like he's saying, like, don't worry, I'm gonna fix it for you. How do you feel? Like you will never worry about anything. But imagine, compare it, you are the one who's finishing your papers, you are the one who's going to the court to defend yourself. How would it be? It would be so hectic. Now let's compare this with the power and the authority of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like when you delegate all of your affairs to the most powerful one, to the one who has all of these abilities, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how would you feel? Like if we come to practice real tawakkul ala Allah, we would never worry about anything. We would never have such kind of worry, anxiety issues, stress issues. All of this would be gone with tawakkul, with true and real tawakkul. Like when you come to do tawakkul ala Allah, it's like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking all of the loads from your back. And you're just feeling reassured and comfortable, and you're being full with tranquility and peace. Like you're not worrying about anything. Do you remember this feeling when you were a baby? Like, do you remember when you were clinging and holding to your mother's or father's hand, and like your mother used to take you anywhere and you didn't even realize the places that you were going to, but you were feeling safe. Like you never worried about where she's taking you, and you never expecting that she's taking you to a bad place. Like you never had this doubt. It's the same feeling when you are delegating Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when you are doing tawakkul. It's the same as like you're being with your mother, with your parents, and more. Like you need to have this feeling from inside. The same feeling. Like we shouldn't be just saying tawakkul and you don't understand the feeling. You need to have this feeling exactly. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is taking you to the best places ever. Is taking you to the best situations. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want to harm you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to save you all the time. Okay, someone might come and tell me, I am in a very bad and a critical situation in life. And you're saying that Allah is taking you always to the best situation or to the best place. But I'm suffering now. So what is the best situation that I'm in? Okay, to explain this, when we say that you are the best situation, this is your best situation according to your choices and the decisions that you made. Like, this is the best situation among 10 situations that you were supposed to be. This is the best one of them. This is the best of the 10 that were results from your choices and decisions. There are two types of destiny. The first destiny is the definite destiny. Like, it's the destiny of your environment. Like you're created with a certain nationality, with a certain parent. Like you didn't have the decision and the freedom to choose this destiny. And like your death, like you are created with these circumstances. This is the environment that you are going to play in your game, or this is the environment that you will be tested in. So we don't have the choice or the decision to choose these things or this definite destiny. But the other type of destiny is the indefinite destiny. And this destiny is the one that you have the choice on. Like you can choose. And this is being decreed upon your decisions and your choices. Like this destiny is being decreed according to every minute you're taking a decision. Like now, I'm studying in high school. This is one example. And then I decided not to study. Like I decided to give up studying, and I have exams next month. So I give up. I said like, I'm not going to study for the exams. What would happen? The track of being uneducated is being opened to me. Like this is one of the tracks that is distant for me, but I have it chosen by my will to go through this track, to be uneducated person. And to be uneducated, like in the end of this track, like I'm going to be poor person, I'm going to marry uneducated person as well. Like everything has been changed because of this decision that I have just taken. And I also have the choice to choose another thing. Like I have changed my mind and I have just decided to study for the exams and to study very well. And when I studied, I got the best degree and I got the best marks, and the track of being the most famous doctor has just opened up for me. And this track is that I'm going to be a famous doctor. I'm going to marry a famous doctor like me. Everything has been changed. So with every single choice you are taking in this moment, a new track is being opened up for you. And so many tracks are opened for you based on your choice. Like you've got 100 tracks in front of you, and those tracks are around you. It's like a game. And based on the choice that I'm taking in this moment, I'm going to track 1. Or I have changed my mind and I've chosen something else, so I'm taking track 50. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can see all of these tracks, and He knows what you're going to choose in the end. So I need you to have this image in your mind so that you understand how it is being made. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching you through all of this, but He has given you the test to choose. So what's the point of creating us? To what? To send us a decree or a destiny that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided that you will go through this destiny, so you don't have the choice. So what's the point of creating us? No, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala distinguished us from the other creatures with this freedom, with this mind, with this choice, to have this decision and choice, and you will be responsible for this and you will be rewarded for this. So let's not mix them up. We don't want to mix a definite decree or destiny with the indefinite destiny. They are different. So I'm now, most of my life is indefinite destiny. Like I'm choosing. I'm the one who's choosing. Now I have chosen not to go to the gym. I have chosen not to care about my body and to eat fast food all the time, to eat whatever I like. Like I don't have control on my food. What would happen? The track of being obese is opening up for me. And even the people who are surrounding me will be different in this track. Like even the people will change according to the track. Not the family, not the close people, of course, but you will have new people who pop up in every track who are different. Like they differ from one track to another. Like you might have good people in track 1, you might have bad people in track 50. So according to your choice, the tracks are being opened up for you. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is choosing the best of these tracks. He's trying to push you to choose like the best track among these 100 tracks. Like you've got here 100 tracks based on your choices. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to push you to 51, track number 51. And this is the best track ever. Like this is the best track among the available tracks that you have. And it's based in your choice, in your decision. Like we would imagine that you were under choice in a certain period in your life and you had to choose between two people, like you wanted to marry, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent you two people, someone who's immoral, like he is unethical, like he's not committed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he didn't worship him enough. And the other one was a good worshipper to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and like he was somehow committed, but you preferred the immoral person to live with and to marry. So this is your choice now. So a track with this immoral person is being opened up for you. And you were not committed enough, like you didn't have such commitment with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you were not obedient enough to Allah. So you got married and after marriage, you stay the same. The first choice, you've already chosen the immoral person. The first choice after marriage that you cannot change, but you have stayed the same. You have chosen not to change. So none change. What would happen with the non-change? The track that is opened up for you because of non-change is divorce. For example, like you decided not to change and you've already have previous decision that you've got married to a immoral person. After marriage, you still have a chance to change, but you didn't change, you stay the same. And then by the end of this track, it's opened that you will be divorced after some time because of your non-change. And we have some sideways in this track. Like these sideways, one of them is saying that you will be having one child. Another one saying that you will be having two children. Another one is saying that you will be divorced without children. And then you get divorced without children. What was the best track of them? What was the best side way of them? To be divorced without children. And after some time, you will get married to another better person than the previous one. So to have children from the first one or to be divorced without children, to get married to the better one. From the tracks, the available tracks that you have, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala choosing the best of them. But when you come to see the picture from outside, you would say like, why I'm getting divorced without children? Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deprived me from children and from staying married as well. But because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees the end of your track, He knows that you will get married to a better person. That's why He let you be divorced without children, to have the freedom to marry a better person. If you come to understand this, I mean that you have the tracks and these tracks were opened up for you because of your decisions. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just trying to push you to take the best track among the worst situations that you put yourself in. And you were the one who opened up these tracks based on your choice. Now let's see the second track. The second track and the second possibility of this marriage. So again, with this example, you have chosen to get married to an immoral person. The second track or the second possibility is that you will be changed to the worst. Like you will be worse than before. Like you will be more disobedient. Like you will be changing to the worst. the track that would open up for you is being divorced and unmarried forever. Like you will be staying divorced forever. So with every single choice you are taking in this moment, a new track is being opened up for you. And so many tracks are opened for you based on your choice. Like you've got 100 tracks in front of you, and those tracks are around you, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can see all of these tracks, and He knows what you're going to choose in the end. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching you through all of this, but He has given you the test to choose. Now let's move to the structure and the form of التوكل. التوكل is just feeling in the end. Like it's something you feel it through the heart. I cannot touch it. It's not tangible, but I can feel it. And when we come to analyze this feeling, we would find that it's like full and total trust. Like when you trust somebody, it's tawakkul. But the difference here is that you trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have full trust more than the trust you are giving to the people. Like when we come to understand trust, what is trust? Like when you have a friend, and this friend, you are trusting him so much. Like when he asks you, let's do something, let's go to the desert, when he's taking you even to the forest, like you're not scared, you trust him. Like when he asks you, or when he suggests anything to do, you're not scared from his decisions. Like you follow him blindly. This is the trust with people. And the same trust can be with your parents, with your mother, with your father. You trust them. When they say anything, you are sure that they protect you and they are scared about you. But how did this trust come up? Why did you come to trust this friend? Because you came to know him. Because you had like a lot of stories and you lived together, because you went through so many situations with him and you know him very well, and you saw his reactions in many situations, and your family as well, you know them, and you know the connection between you and them, and you know that they will not harm you. It's the same thing. So trust needs to be created when you come to know the person first. Like you need to know about the person before you go through the trust, because it's feeling that is coming out because of so many situations you went through. When we come to talk about the trust, and when you rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like tawakkul ala Allah, this is, we can say, it's the top part and the peak of your faith, your belief. When you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, tawakkul comes as a result of this belief. Like you come to know about him very well. You come to believe in his abilities. And this trust comes out as a reflection of your belief and your faith, which is a reflection of your worship. And as much as you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will have tawakkul is an automated result to your belief. Like when I worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like I do prayer and I do fasting. Why am I doing this? Like, am I torturing myself to do fasting? No, because I believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there, and I believe that there will be resurrection, and I totally believe that I am accounted for my deeds. So I have this belief that is created inside me. That's why I'm doing the worship. And as much as I believe, as much as I do worship, and the tawakkul, trust, comes as a result of this belief. So we can say tawakkul is the peak of the thing. It's the top part of the mountain. Like you know the milk, when you keep the milk for some time and then you find this cover of cream that is formed. Tawakkul ala Allah is like this cream when it's formed because of your belief. And as much as you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and as much as you have this faith, and as much as you are knowledgeable about Allah and his attributes and his abilities, this tawakkul and trust will be formed automatically. without you doing anything, without you interfering anything. So it's not easy to tell you, come and do tawakkul. You need to be mutawakkil ala Allah. How can you do it? It's not in your hands. It's feeling. And feelings come as a result of our beliefs, what we believe in. So if you come to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and in everything He promised with, you would come to trust Him blindly. You would reach to this level of going into life blindly, really. But if you have this full feeling, and it's not easy to have it fully, of course, we're getting it relatively. Not everyone has the same percentage as the other. So when we have the trust and tawakkul on Allah is formed as a result of our belief, so we would be believing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just doing the best for us, even if we are in the worst situations ever, even if you are under the disaster. You will come to believe that this is the best for me. So we can say that tawakkul is a result to your faith and belief, your iman. And it never shows up without this belief. So when we look into most of the verses in the Quran that reflect the word tawakkul, we'll find that the word tawakkul is mostly preceded by the word iman or the word faith. Like in Surah Al-Anfal, وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ. And when Allah is mentioned and their faith increases, when His verses are recited to them and they put their trust only in their Lord. The faith is formed first, and after that وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ, the trust happens. And in another verse, إن كنتم آمنتم بالله فعليه توكلوا. If you have believed in Allah, then rely upon Him. So the belief happens first, and the faith happens first, and then the trust is formed automatically because of the level of this faith. And as much as you have this level of a belief, the level of trust is increasing as well. And I remember a story of one of my friends. She stayed jobless for some time, for 1 year or 2 years. She tried everything. She went to companies, she got interviewed in so many companies, they rejected her. The reasons were different, and she couldn't realize where the problem is. And then she ended up with starting to learn something new. She said, I'm going to make a new business. I'm going to learn in an industry and start up a business. And it wasn't easy. This decision is not easy to take. When I ask you go and make a business, it's not easy. But she started to generate this power and energy inside her, and she started to learn industry from scratch. So she started to know everything about it and to explore it. And then she started making a small company, and then it became one of the big companies in the area. And when she started to interview some employees for her company, she found one of the HR managers whom he interviewed her before, and he rejected her. And when we come to analyze this story, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, why did He keep her jobless for 2 years? Because He wanted to squeeze her. You don't have a job, make something for yourself. He's trying to push her to think outside the box. He's trying to push her to make a new company, to make a new business for her to be free. And this is something better than being employee and spending her life being employee. This is of course much better for her. That's why when you come to see the whole story from outside, you will come to see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala let her spend 2 years being tortured without a job. And when you see her, why Allah is doing like this to her? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pushing you, squeezing you to get the best thing from you, the best outcome from you. He's trying to push you because we are human beings. We like the comfort zone. We like to be comfortable. But when he pushes you with, like, you keep staying without money, without a job for a long time, you will start thinking outside the box, and you will start thinking to make a new business for yourself. This is what happened to her. So when we come to analyze this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was surely doing the best for her. And now she ended up being a businesswoman instead of spending her life being an employee waiting for the salary. So this is what I mean. Even if you are under the disaster, even if you are going through the worst situation ever in your life, make sure that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just squeezing you and He's pushing you to do something. He's trying to push you to take an action and take a step in your life. And when you look back in all of your life, past experiences, and you start analyzing it this way, you will come to understand what I'm saying, and you will start to be convinced with what I'm saying. So we can say that there are two possible reactions for any difficulties that you are going through. The first possible reaction, that you might be rebellious about the reaction that you got, or about the destiny that you are in. Like, you might reject it and you start depending on yourself. And the other reaction is that you would trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even if you get and receive the disaster, you're still trusting Allah. Like, for example, if you come to study for your degree and then you did your own part, you used all the means and you studied all the books, and then you failed. Oh, this is not expected result. So the first reaction, you either become like someone who's rebellious, like you're rejecting it, and you start losing the trust in Allah, like I did everything I can do and you didn't help me. And the other reaction is that you are convinced that you did your own part. As long as you did your own part, so it's fine, and you failed, it means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is preparing something better for me. He's surely pushing me to enter another field. You will have such positive thinking. You will have such positive expectation because you trust. So this is what I'm talking about. Tawakkul ala Allah is when you use all the means. Even when you use all the means that you have, you did your own part and you still get something negative. You're still under trust and you still rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You still believe that He's doing the best. So how to be true mutawakkil and how to perform tawakkul ala Allah? We can say that again. So it's a trust, and when you rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it starts with your belief. When you believe in Allah, so this belief comes out because of your knowledge about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His attributes and His abilities. So first of all, if we come to summarize it in 2 steps, we can say that the first step, you need to know about the abilities of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You need to know more about Him. Try to read His words, read Quran. When you come to read Quran is opening up the cells of the brain. You would come to understand. When as much as you read Quran, you would come to understand everything from Quran. So try to know more about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from His words, how He's saying the words to us, how He's saying the judgment, how He's judging, how He's promising. When you come to read more about Him, you will come to understand, and the belief would increase automatically. And try to increase your worship. When you come to increase your worship, like, be committed with prayer. Try to be away from sins. Try to avoid committing sins. Like, if you are used to a certain amount of sins, try to make it less than before. And by time the worship level is increasing with reading and with exploring about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the worship level is increasing automatically. And the second step is I need to use the means, the available means that are in front of me. You need to use all the means that are available in front of you and do the worship and trust. All of these together, and accept the misfortune as well, and accept the pain. All of these are in one cycle. If you come to say like, I'm going to rely on worship, like I'm going to read Quran forever and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make it easy, I'm not gonna do any effort. No, you will never get anything, because you need to do effort first. You need to use the means that are available in front of you, and while you're using the means, you are relying on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and do the worship as well. So it's a complete cycle, and they are working together. And if we come to the story of Maryam alayhi salam, like when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent dates and food to her, and he asked her, and he said, وَهُزِّي إِلَيْكِ بِجِذْعِ النَّخْلَةِ تُسَاقِطْ عَلَيْكِ رُطْبًا جَنِيًّا. Like he asked her to shake the trunk of the date palm before he let the dates fall down. Like this shake of Maryam alayhi salam, it didn't make anything. It wasn't the reason that let the date come down. But why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ask her to do this small shake? Because this is the means I'm talking about. Like you need to do something. Even if it's a small effort, do it. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't like you to be lazy and not to take steps in your life. No, you need to have the steps. You need to do the effort that is like, this is the system and the structure of life, of the world life. So you need to take it first, and it goes automatically with your trust of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when we switch to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered Musa to do, أَنِضْرِبْ بَعَصَاكَ الْبَحْرَ فَانْفَلَقْ, like strike the sea with your stick, and it got separated. It separated the sea water. Like, do you imagine that a stick would separate a sea water? Like, it doesn't make sense. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asked him to use the means that are available to him, even if this means wasn't logical enough. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala just wants us to use the means, because this is the system of the world life that we are living in. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created everything based on reasons. So we need to follow the reasons. We need to use the means and follow the reasons, and then the trust and our tawakkul is going smoothly with all of these feelings. So we can wrap this up to that tawakkul ala Allah is feeling. And by the way, it's not easy to get a feeling created inside you, because this feeling is coming out because of many beliefs, like you're believing in them. But when we follow these steps that I mentioned, and to follow them together, we will end up with having tawakkul coming out from our heart. When we start to know more about the attributes and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we maximize our worship, and to avoid or minimize the level and the amount of our sins, when we come to follow the reasons and the logic and use the means as well, and to have this trust with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to try to convince myself, even if I'm not convinced from inside, like I need to practice this certainty that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is doing the best regardless of any danger or any suffering that I'm going through. He's still doing the best. So I need to practice this till I get the feeling automatically from all of these actions that I keep doing by time.